Well, hello, and welcome to our backyard garden here in the South Carolina upstate. It is August 2nd, 2025. This is our 23rd episode this year, and it's a Saturday afternoon, right around 4 o'clock, and not a typical day. It's kind of overcast. It's actually very pleasant outside. It's probably about 70 degrees, a little bit of a breeze, as you can see, and it's really a nice day to be outside, but just not exactly what we've been having for the last few weeks. It's been almost 100 degrees on multiple occasions just in the past week, so it's nice to get a break from that. I'm supposed to get some rain tonight, which the plants will enjoy. So we're going to get started here, as always, on the side of our garage with our cleome. They're having a good day today. They don't like the hot sun, and that's why they're still wide open right now. And this one is, of course, a bright purple. We still have some snapdragons. These are the only snapdragons left. They were the first ones to come up, and they're the last ones to finish up. They're not exactly thriving right now, but they're still going. And oddly enough, they're the ones that are coming up out of the concrete, so go figure. How does that happen? Same thing with these cleome here. They're all coming up out of the concrete. It's the strangest thing, but it's something that happens here routinely, and I just let them grow. I don't do anything about it. I got more over here, and this is more of a pink cleome. We do see a few of those. I would say overall about 90% are purple, about 10% are pink. Every once in a while we'll get one that's just completely devoid of any color at all. It's more of a white color, kind of an albino plant. And more of those in here, kind of mixed in with all of our spring plants that are long since finished up, or daisies kind of under this big morning glory, which is spread to cover just about everything down here. Daisies all finished up. The morning glories actually put out some flowers in the last day. They were nice little blue flowers. They're all shriveled up now late in the day. I forgot to mention our canna, one of our red canna, one of the few that's actually put out flowers. The plant itself does not look healthy. I don't know what really is the issue here. I don't know if it's that it just doesn't like the soil that it's in or what, because I see canna growing elsewhere in our area and they're doing well. Ours always have problems with the leaves, and then some of the flowers don't want to open up. These two have, but I think if you watch these videos enough, you quickly to get to know that I'm not a big fan of the canna that we have. We have a lot of them, as you will see shortly. More morning glories, as I say, they've really kind of taken over this area down here, more this year than in the past. This area used to be kind of overrun with the cleome. This whole area that's kind of bare right now was all cleome last year, and I think it got disrupted. I think there were tons of seeds in there, but they got disrupted when we had it mulched in the spring. But I have a feeling they'll be back. Then we have this odd plant. I don't know what it is, but it's very unique. I like the little flowers that it puts out, and they kind of go between white and pink. And even if it's a weed, I kind of like it, so I'm letting it go. We've got another one over here that's even bigger. This one's about 5 feet tall, and again, it's got all these little flowers on it. It's not a bad looking plant. I'm impressed with how, it has come up out of nowhere this year. It's got this stalk that's about 1.5 inches wide, or I shouldn't say stalk, it's more of a trunk. Don't know if that's something that would continue to grow or if it just dies. We're going to find out in a few months when we get our first frost. But in any case, we're going to continue to work our way down through the yard. I'll before I show off the hydrangeas here, I'll come back over and show off a few more cleome. They really like it here in this group of stones that I put in around our fire pit. This was not the intention. I thought the stones would look nice, and it would be something to keep weeds out, and it's been just the opposite. It's really encouraged weeds. I've tried to keep up with them a little bit, but it's kind of time consuming. But again, we're getting lots and lots of color. I've tried to spray some of the weeds with Roundup, some of the ones that don't flower. but we've got a lot of these sort of broad-leafed weeds that grow amongst everything else, and they're hard to spray because I don't want to kill all the cleome, but I do want to kill the weeds. So it's just a yearly battle that I take on every year. So back over here, we have our hydrangeas. We have 4 gigantic ones. They get bigger and bigger as we go further down through the yard. They peaked probably about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Still looking great. They're still full of color. And this one here, about 7 feet in height. And if you look at our neighbors right across the fence here, theirs is a few years older, and it's probably a good 12 feet in height. Big bush, and almost more of a tree. And that's where these will get eventually. So if you put in hydrangeas like this, at least these white ones, they tend to be faster growing than the ones we have in the front yard, which are blue and red. And those are spring, these are summer. But these grow very quickly, and they will take over an area. We had a big wide bed. If you look here from the edge of the grass back to the fence, there is about 8 feet. And when we put these in, this was maybe 4 years ago, this area was wide open, and they have kind of taken over just about everything else. We have Asiatic lilies. Of course, those are all finished for the year. We had butterfly bush that's sort of lost back in here. Unfortunately, it's kind of been taken over by the hydrangeas. We have another one here that still has a fair amount of space and still putting out a few flowers, although it's almost done. Beautiful magenta colored flowers. Maybe another week or 2 of those, and then they'll be about finished. And then most of the other things down through here are about done. Still a couple flowers left on the Monarda, but that'll probably be the end of those. There's a big red knockout rose here with a big white clematis growing on top of it. We saw that back in April when those were both in bloom at the same time. It looked like bright red and bright white together. It was absolutely beautiful. But all of our daylilies through here are finished for the year, and our azaleas are just kind of in holding, waiting to bloom in the fall. Now, this funny thing, you'll get individual little ones like this that are just coming out. There's another one back there, and as I look down here, I see a few others, but they'll come out in big numbers probably around October, and then again in April. So we're really blessed to get 2 blooms a year. Now, under all of that, and we certainly had a lot of digitalis in here. Those are all finished for the year. Our little impatiens, we put these in back in the spring. And some years, we've had a lot of success. Last year, they did pretty well. This year, they were doing okay. They never took off. I thought maybe they would do better once the weather got cooler. I don't know if the hot weather we had this year has finished them off for good or what, but I don't have much hope for those at this point. Still be back in here. They're all done for the year. Lamb's ear is just a nice ground cover plant, so that'll continue to grow and just kind of hang out until next summer. Another big azalea here. A couple hostas back in here, and it looks like we're actually finally going to get some flowers out of these. Sometimes these flowers, sometimes they don't, but they flower much later than all the other hostas in the yard because they're in so much shade. And we have our little wisteria back in here. Now, last week I was struggling, and for those of you in your 60s like I am, it's sometimes just coming up with recall of specific words is more of a challenge than it should be. And last week I could not come up with the word wisteria. Some years I've had, or some weeks I should say, I've had trouble with the word astilbe or hydrangea, and I just can't come up with it. Last week it was wisteria. But here's our other wisteria on this side, doing great. It's taking over as they tend to do. And then we'll come back around this way. This area is pretty much done. These are all daylilies and Unfortunately, a lot of weeds, and a few lamb's ear back in here. This area needs a lot of work that I just have not had time to do so far this summer. Too many other things going on. But let's see what else we have here. Well, this for sure, our big knockout rose. This thing is always putting out flowers. It's an amazingly resilient plant, and as I look closely, it's got a huge trunk back in there that's about 6 or 8 inches wide, and I'm seeing some new branches coming off of it, so it's probably going to get even bigger than it is already. And what else do we have? Looking up onto the trellis, we've got a whole combination of jasmine, climbing roses, clematis, a lot of things that are just giving us a really old look, which I've always liked. I had to cut it back a little bit because it was getting out of control for a while, and I kind of evened it up. We had just sticks and branches growing up randomly out of all of this, but we've tried to keep that under control for the most part. Still have a few spiderworts here. Usually these are gone by the end of the morning, but because it's been a little bit cooler today, we're still getting the chance to see them. And we have Veronica, this tall purple plant. Usually you can find at least a bee or two. Here's a big bumblebee having a meal. And then this big pink, I mention this a lot. I have not found an answer as to what these are. I don't have one of those apps that will identify a plant, but these just some wildflower. We put these in a while back, and neither my wife nor I could remember the name of it. I had a butterfly there that I wanted to get on camera, and he's fluttering on by, so I'm not going to get him or her. There's another good example of what happens when you don't trim your roses. They get these gigantic seed pods, and then they stop growing new flowers. So we do have one rose back in there. I'm gonna just kind of zoom in a little bit. Little pink character. He continues to bloom kind of randomly throughout the year. What else do we have? Big camellia here. This blooms in the late winter. Usually we just get a few weeks in January, maybe into early February, where it blooms. This year we got a good 2.5 months out of it. Big pink flowers, really pretty. And then butterfly bush here, and beautiful purple flowers, a little darker than the magenta ones that we had over in the other part of the yard. Over here, we just finished up. Last week we had our last daylily that was blooming off of this plant. That's done now. A lot of other things I've kind of finished up. We had balloon flowers. They're all done. I'm trying to think what else. Looks like something came through here. I think oh my gosh! Now I'm just kind of realizing what's changed. Something came through. I don't know if it was a deer or beavers or what. You can see these zinnias. This whole area was full of zinnias as of last week. If you look at our video, all just chopped right to the ground, like little bamboo shoots sticking up. They've all been eaten off. That's interesting because I don't remember ever seeing a predator coming through that ate zinnias, and we have so many others. I'm surprised they haven't eaten all of them, although now that I think about it, we had some zinnias over here. Oh yeah, this big one, they ate that down to the ground too. Yeah, we've had big problems with beavers. That was a problem last year. It ate a lot of our plants right down to the ground. I droned on and on for weeks about that on our videos last year, and some of them came back, some of them didn't. Back in here we have some little rose plants that never came back after being eaten, or they barely came back. Here, well, these are annuals, so they're not, obviously not going to come back. But it's just peculiar to me that they would pick zinnias. It's not something that anything usually eats, but deer, if it was a deer, that's probably what did it. They will eat just about anything. Back to this area, or wisteria, huge thing. Sometimes I'll show off the trunk of this. It's a huge plant, and I've just kind of let it grow, kind of spreading wherever it will go. Also, it's worth showing off our neighbors' blue hydrangeas. Usually these bloom a little bit earlier in the year, like back in the spring, but theirs always bloom later, which is nice to see. Now, as I look here, it looks like whatever our little predator was probably ate some of the wisteria too. Now that I don't mind, because if he chews on them, they'll come back with no problem. They're remarkably resilient. I also wouldn't mind it if he would chew on the canna, because they're not my favorite. Now these green canna, I'm quite happy with those, especially this year. We're getting the most flowers out of those that we ever have, and if you look through here, you can see quite a few of the yellow flowers. The red ones, which are the darker leafed and taller plants, we've got maybe 2 flowers up there. Not a whole lot. I'm going to show them from a different angle. It's actually starting to rain now. It was not in the forecast. Certainly it looks rainy out there, but there wasn't really anything on the radar. But you can see towering way above me here, you can see some of these red canna flowers, and more of the yellow here. Very tropical looking. And it's a perfect flower actually for down here in this area, because we don't have anything else going on in this part of the yard. It's not an area we want to spend a lot of money on, because we don't see it from the house. People can see it from across the way. There's a walking trail on the far side of the pond, and people look over, but they can't see anything in detail. Now they will see these black-eyed Susans, lots and lots of those. They're kind of peaking right now. Earlier in the year, we've had irises, we've had daylilies and other things, and unfortunately a lot of weeds. This part of the garden has really kind of struggled. Not sure why it's gotten a lot of weeds growing in it. The daylilies have kind of struggled. I know it's not the best soil in the world, but some things have done really well, some not so well. And then again, we're just getting weeds and these maple trees constantly. So I'm going to have to go through there at some point before much longer, probably when it cools down a little bit, maybe in September, and really start to pull some of that stuff out of there, get this bed looking a little more reasonable. I put a lot of time into it back in the spring, and it looked really good for a while, but of course nature will catch up and kind of take over with plants that you don't really want there. I have sprayed quite a bit to keep the Virginia creeper under control, and a few other things, some of the spiky sort of weeds that we get through here, without killing out all the things that we like daylilies and so on. But anyway, that's what's going on down here. I'll take a quick look, see if we have a flower today. Well, it looks like we did. Perfect timing. Now, this is our water lily. Unfortunately, you know what I'm going to do here? I just pulled out a little stalk from one of our daylilies. I'm going to use it as a little tool to show off our water lily. And there you can see it. I'm going to hone in on that. Sometimes they do kind of disappear under the leaves. Very pretty flowers. They only put out one at a time, and then the buds, or whatever you want to call them,
just sort of gradually settle down into the water, and then they just disappear. But I just put this in. Somebody gave it to us a while back, and maybe 2 years ago, and they said just plop it in the water, in the container still, and they've done very well. Hopefully it'll continue to spread. I would like to get more of those in the future, because it's done well, and I'd like to see more of those flowers. But we were, probably worth noting, if you're in the area around the upstate of South Carolina, or specifically Greenville, we went to a place that some of you may know called the South Pleasantburg Nursery. Great place, lots and lots of variety there. We have a lot of really nice greenhouses in this area, or not greenhouses so much, but nurseries. And they're the only ones that I know of that have water lilies. And I was going down there to buy a couple to put in the water just a couple weeks ago, and wouldn't you know it, fortunately they told me, is that they're not hardy, which means if I bought them, and they were about $40 a piece, they were going to be lasting for maybe a month or two, and then they'd die when it got cold. So he said they do have ones that are hardy, but they won't be available till next spring. So we're going to get some of those, kind of add to our collection a little bit. And I wouldn't mind having one that was not hardy, or even a couple of them, if we had them in the spring and they bloomed all year long. But I'm not going to invest in something that's only going to last for a few weeks and then be gone. Back up at the house here, we have phlox. These pretty pink flowers, a few that are white as well, and then some more veronica back in here. One yellow rose that's still hanging out. All the other roses are about done, probably done for the year at this point, I would say. Some more veronica here, and marigolds. A lot of marigolds that have kind of washed their way down here. We were doing a lot of planting of seeds up in the top of the deck earlier this year, and some of the plants, I think, just kind of worked their way down in here, and they're growing very nicely. In fact, now that I look, of course we got some zinnias here, but as I look up in here, oh, this is new. I had not seen these. These are some morning glories that are white. I've not seen white morning glories in our group before. It looks like we just missed them being open, but I'll try to get over here next week. But we have some more marigolds growing in this area. Again, they probably just came through the slats in the deck upstairs and found a home down here. But we've got just a whole variety of things. It's one of the fun things about having a garden like this. These calla lilies, I always talk about these. Now this has gotten chewed on. I don't know if it was by the same deer, but these are, you can see the seeds down in here. I haven't really seen these get so big before. I don't know exactly the nature of the calla lily seed, but I noticed that they were heavy enough that they were pulling the whole thing down. And we had a lot of flowers. They kind of look like Easter lilies when they come out. And a few more morning glories here. So it'll be interesting to see what becomes of those. I don't know if that's something we could use to replant. I would love to get more of those calla lilies. They're absolutely gorgeous, and they are colorful. We have about 6 different colors of them, and they weren't expensive, and they're low maintenance. It's like everything that you like, and they seem to be, at least so far, they seem to be fairly disease resistant. Knock on wood. Gonna finish up here. I haven't talked about this so far. Climbing rose back in here. These little pink roses, that is for the most part what's up on top of the trellis back here. Normally there are a lot of those out. We have a total of 4 of this exact type of climbing rose in the backyard. This is the only one that has any flowers on it right now, and it'll probably continue to give us buds and flowers off and on for the rest of the year. Got some little buds right there. And coming around here, I think everything else is pretty much finished. And And oh, I know one other thing that we might be able to see if I can find it. Yeah, right back in here. These are the only tomatoes that I've seen so far that have actually gotten fertilized. We've typically had a lot of tomatoes, like hundreds of them, and the last couple of years they have not come up in large numbers. Let me get a couple more because they are ready. They probably should have been picked a few days ago because they're kind of splitting their skin right now. Let's see a couple others back in here. Let's see what we can do. Grab all of them. Now, when they have a little hole like that, it means there's a parasite in there. Nobody's going to eat that, so we toss that one out. But this one's perfect. Didn't split its skin or anything. So that's our crop for 2025 so far. And from what I can tell, that may be about it because I'm not seeing any other flowers. These tomatoes are so overrun. Oh, I take it back. We have one more tomato here. It has split its skin too. There we go. But yeah, usually these things were covered with the little yellow tomato flowers, and this year they're covered with morning glory flowers, which means they're not going to be blooming a whole lot. And you come back under here, and this area's really gotten overgrown. It always does this time of year, but not the worst thing in the world because I mean, we don't do anything else back in here. It's just kind of a storage area. And all this stuff dies off over the winter. And we'll come through and clean it up and start over again next year. But I seem to remember by this time last year that we had a lot more weeds than we do now. I feel like we've done maybe a little bit better job of keeping control of that. I'm not sure. I may be wrong. Now, where did my tomatoes go? The wind blew them down, doggone it. There we go. All right, so that is the end of our little tour of the garden for this week. Hope it is sunny wherever you are, because it sure isn't here. And until next time, happy gardening.